Here's a long one. Nothing but net. Oh, my goodness. Didn't see that coming. I'm diddly dee.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of All Nat, brought to you by OTS. I'm your host, Natalie, but most people call me Nat, and I'm back with Justin. He told me to stop giving him the crazy intros. He didn't say that, but that's what he was alluding to on the last pod. So I'm going to tone it down, but I really do be excited to have Justin with me. So I'm going to just from here going forward treat him like a regular co-host, because that's what we are. We host a pod together. So Justin, hey co-host, how you doing? Welcome back.
I'm good.
I think by now the people know you.
Right. I hope so.
So we did our part one NBA preseason preview. Not really preseason anymore because the season's about to start. So but we did a preview for the season. We started with the Dubs because I mean it's a Warriors podcast, and also they're the reigning champs. So I think that's fitting. And then I know today we're supposed to kind of get into like the rest of the league, but we recorded, and then again right after we recorded, found out like while we were recording, the team cut Quindary Witherspoon and Lester. How do I pronounce Lester's last name? Do you know how to pronounce it?
Quinones.
Okay, there you go. Lester Q. No, I don't, let me not be like those people who are rude and disrespect names. So say it for me one more time, Justin. Please.
Quinones.
Lester Quinones. So they cut the two of them. And I don't know that we were really surprised about Lester, because Justin like mentioned when we were talking, like he didn't think Lester was safe, but we both were like Quinn. And I think the reaction, I did a little like 2 minutes on it, like just to wrap up the pod without Justin, because just so we didn't look crazy coming out with the pod talking about, oh, Quinn is safe, and then like you're like, yo, Quinn got cut. So, but I mean, now that Justin and I are here together, I feel like the collective reaction is surprise around Quinn, right? Like that's what I was seeing on the timeline.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a good player, and he was good for us last year. I think we all kind of thought he was at least going to be on the two-way, just kind of secure and be able to play spot minutes here and there because he played so well. But yeah, not really sure what he did or didn't do to.
They said it was positional, like.
Well, okay, that makes sense.
But then what positions are they want that they feel like they just feel like they have too many guards for him to be there?
I think maybe they feel like they have too many wings, because he's not necessarily going to be a point guard for them. He would be just another wing defender. So maybe they're thinking more point guard, even though they have multiple point guards. So I don't really understand that, but maybe they're thinking we need a point guard just in case somebody gets injured or doesn't play, and we need a front court player potentially. That's why I'm thinking.
Well, based on the people remaining, since they said it's positional, based on who they have left right now that they're still considering, what would that tell you about like what positions they're valuing, I guess?
They kind of got a mix. I think when Ty Jerome and Pat Spencer, well, Ty Jerome is like a point guard. Like that's kind of his main position in the NBA, at least. He's a bigger point guard, and he's just like one of those steady players. Pat Spencer and Jerome Robinson are kind of like wings, but they're more like shooter, but maybe they like just fit into the Warriors offense better. Maybe Kerr just likes them a little bit better as far as the things they can do, shooting
like
and passing.
Quinn fit in the system.
Yeah, I feel like defensively he can play really anywhere. I think he has the motor, he has the length, he has the athleticism,
the IQ.
The IQ, exactly. So that really surprised me. And then Anthony Lamb is like a stretch big. He can really shoot it. And I think he just knows where to be defensively and stuff like that. I'm not really sure if he has the physical attributes to really make an impact, but that remains to be seen. But
He has a bit of a sketchy past that we don't need to get into since like there's been nothing founded, I suppose. But I'm just a little surprised that with everything already going on with the Warriors, that they would consider taking on a player that might bring even more. I mean, in general, without what's going on with them, I'm a little surprised, but like just, anything to even bring more scrutiny to the franchise, I feel like right now is probably not needed. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Now I have like my phone on and I'm paying attention to everything. Because I don't want us to miss anything. So I'm seeing something about Bobby Marks, looking at players, including Jordan Poole. I'm just making sure like the extension don't drop while we talking, nothing like that. So I mean, I don't know. Now I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really invested right now in any of these guys. I guess Spencer has looked good, but I don't know. I don't know who I'd want the other two-way to be. I don't know. I'm really upset about Quinn. I know, like, it seems like kind of crazy. He was just like a two-way guy, but he sort of became a fan favorite. I mean, we wanted to see him last year. I did, instead of.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of like over the last 2 years, we've kind of gotten used to guys that have been on the fringe of the roster playing their way into an actual roster spot with JTA and Gary Payton II. And we thought Quinn was going to be that next kind of story because those two guys are beloved by the fan base because they came from, not like being on the outside in, and then they got in and stayed in. So, yeah, I guess everybody was just kind of rooting for Quinn, and just maybe he ends up coming back somehow later on down the line when they finally fill in that last roster spot, if they ever do. I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon, but he might get picked up by another team by then. Probably
I
will.
really hope so. Someone said like the Kings, and I'm like, no, I don't want him in that kind of organization. I
Right.
hope the Spurs. I mean, I know the Spurs are probably tanking this year, but
He was
I
on the
hope,
Spurs before too.
yeah, I hope it's like a good organization for him. That's all. Really disappointed, and I don't know. I'm hearing like, I mean, I don't know at what point they gave him notice, but I'm hearing that it might have been like sort of like a surprise for him too, like that it wasn't expected. So
That's really.
I don't know. Anyway, I digress. We're here to talk about the rest of the league, which sometimes is hard for me because, like, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I got my Warriors cape on all the time. I don't be caring about no other teams. I don't even be enjoying watching the other teams that much, to be honest, Justin. Like, I sometimes I'm like, I feel sad for like the fans of like other teams because I'm just like the Warriors are so exciting. Like, how do you get into these other teams? And I know that's my own bias, but I legit be feeling like that. Like, there's only like a handful of other teams and players that I really enjoy watching. The Clippers are actually one of those teams though, and that's really more about their players because Kawhi and Paul George are two of my favorite players in the league. And I do really like the Celtics because the Celtics are my East team. Like if the Warriors, God forbid, for some reason were not to make it, I'd be rooting for the Celtics. But outside of that, like there's not that many other teams like I enjoy watching like that. Who do you like to watch around the league?
I mean, I'm kind of like weird with it, like certain players that I just really like their game. So I like watching those players. But as far as like the past years, I really like watching Denver just because Jokic is one of my favorite players, just how he
I enjoy Jokic.
Um, I mean, I'd enjoy just watching games, but there are definitely some teams I don't enjoy watching. Like I didn't really enjoy watching Utah for the past few years. Like that was just they played decent basketball. Like they just shot a lot of threes and it was Gobert and stuff like that. But it was just kind of like a boring brand to watch for me. Spurs consistently boring, even when they were good.
Oh my God. And I love the Spurs. I did enjoy watching the Spurs. I really did.
I mean, maybe like the beautiful game Spurs where they were just like they had the youth and the older people.
2014 was beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
For sure. Other than that, I can't really think of teams that I'd like really dislike watching other than like the really terrible teams. But even some of those teams are starting to get some exciting players. Like I'm probably going to be watching a lot of Pistons this year. I don't think they're going to be that bad, but Orlando I'm really intrigued with, just like the young talent. But OKC is a bad watch. So yeah, OKC, Utah, and San Antonio. I'm kind of hoping that OKC is going to be good, but I'm kind of hoping San Antonio and Utah are like in purgatory for the next few years because I just don't want them to be relevant, so we don't have to watch them. But yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, so let's start in the West, right? I mean, I think we gotta we're not gonna go through them in detail, but I mean, who do we think are gonna be the 10 teams to make it? I'm saying 10 teams, as in the play-in, and then I guess ultimately, who do you think will be the final 8?
Definitely Golden State, Denver, Los Angeles Clippers. No, I'm joking. Both LA teams will be in the top 10. I'm going to put that out there. Memphis, Dallas, New Orleans. I'm missing a big one, I'm pretty sure. Minnesota.
That's 8. I should be writing these down. Let me see. You have War.
Like a gimme team.
No, I should have wrote this down. Do you think Portland is making the top 10?
I do.
All right, so we have Warriors, Clips, Denver.
Phoenix is the other team I missed.
Phoenix.
Of course I forgot them.
Who cares? They're forgettable.
Yeah.
Suns, Mavs, Lakers, Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 teams right there. I have Warriors, Clippers, Denver, Suns, not in any order. Mavs, Lakers, Grizzlies. That's 7 teams. Who am I missing in that top 8?
Pelicans, Timberwolves.
Okay, so that already gives us Pelicans, Timberwolves. Now let's just stop there because that's 9 teams already.
Mm-hmm.
So that means one of these teams that we just said of those 9 is a play-in team. So that's Warriors, Clippers, Denver, Suns, Mavs, Lakers, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Timberwolves. Who's the play-in team?
The Lakers. I mean, it's going to be it's
You think Pelicans will be better than the Lakers this year?
I do, unless they solve the Russell Westbrook issue. But 6 of those teams won't be in the play-in.
Oh yeah, you're right. 6. I don't know. I'm thinking 8. Okay, so I'm already cutting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you think Lakers will be a play-in team, and
for sure.
Okay, so they're either going to be 7 or 8. So who's going to be the other one? Is it Mavs? Is it Pelicans? Is it Timberwolves?
That's going to be tough. So I'm going to say the Mavs are not going to be in the play-in. They'll make it just because
they have Luka.
They have Luka, and they just have a really balanced team, I think. You look at their team, it's just a good team. It's not like a contender to me, but it's just like a good team. You got Luka, who's going to play 1,000 games, and he's probably going to win you majority of those just because he is that good of a player. And then they added some size inside. They get Tim Hardaway Jr. back. They added Christian Wood, so that kind of.
I'm gonna put the Mavs at 6.
Yeah, I feel like they're like a fringe playing team, depending on the injuries to the other teams or maybe to them. And definitely that would determine a lot of the seeding. Obviously, it does every year, but I think this year more so, 2 to 3 games could be a reason you finish 5th or 3rd. It'll be super close, I think.
So I think Warriors, Clippers, Denver, and Grizzlies. Well, I think Warriors, Clippers, and Denver are the top 3 teams. I don't know the order yet, but those are my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
So who's getting 4? Suns or Grizzlies?
I'm not convinced that the Timberwolves won't get 4th, to be honest. But it'll be one of those 3 teams. If I had to bet, I would say if I had to bet.
Well, then if Timberwolves go into that top 6, then that means either Suns or Grizzlies is falling to a play-in team.
Yeah, I would probably pick the Suns to fall into the play-in.
Okay.
Just because it just doesn't seem like.
But a 7 or 8 play-in, not the 9 or 10.
Right. Right. And I think it'll be one of those things where being in or out of the play-in will be decided by literally like one game or like 2 games, something like that.
Lakers, you think are a 7 or 8 play-in, or are they 9 or 10?
I think they're in danger of being 9 or 10. I think I would bet 9 or 10 range over at 7, 8. I know this brings you joy.
I love it. Okay. I like it. And okay, so then the Warriors, Clips, or Denver is 1 through 3. And so who do we have getting that for? Are we in agreement that those are probably the top 3 teams?
Yes.
Okay.
Barring injury, for sure.
Okay, so 4th, if we're taking the Suns out of it, it's Grizzlies, Pelicans, or Timberwolves.
I would say it's Grizzlies, Mavericks, or Timberwolves, but I would probably put the Mavericks there.
At 4?
I would put them at 4.
Nah, man, fuck that. I'm putting them at 6. I'm gonna put the Grizzlies at 4.
The only reason I'm not putting the Grizzlies there is because Jaren is coming back from that injury. He's going to miss some time.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Ja's pretty much guaranteed to miss some time every season because his style of play. Even though they win without him, but a large reason why they win without him is because Jaren is playing. So, yeah, injuries is why I'm kind of taking a step back on Memphis.
And okay, so maybe it's Timberwolves. Maybe it's the Timberwolves at 4.
Yeah.
It's the Grizzlies at 5, and it's the Mavs at 6.
You're really low on the Mavs. That's crazy.
I have them top 6. What's the problem? I gotta see them. I don't know what they're gonna look like. Balanced team or whatever. I just don't know.
They had a top 10 defense last year, whether it's a like regular season type top 10 or
yeah, but they got Christian Wood, who is not the best defender.
That's true. They're bringing him off the bench though. So
I just gotta see it. That's all.
Yeah, I feel you.
I gotta see it.
With the Timberwolves too. I mean, pretty much with the Timberwolves, with Rudy Gobert, you're walking into a top 5 defense, and if you got a top 5 defense, you're just by that going to win a lot of games. And I think they got 2 offensive superstars that can.
I expect Ant to take a leap, and it's just really that the question about the Timberwolves is, will their collective IQ as a team increase? Because they should have beaten the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
So sure.
I think hopefully they learn from that and they take that into next season and apply that improved IQ. But that's definitely a question that.
So then the other play-in 7 or 8 we're saying is the Pelicans then?
Yeah, Pelicans going to be in play-in. I'm not really too sure about their defense.
So then that last final play-in spot for the 9 or 10, you'd give that to probably the Trailblazers?
Yeah. Their defense is going to be horrible.
Okay. So we're saying that those are our 10 teams. So we are basically saying Utah is out.
Utah's out. San Antonio
OKC's out. San Antonio. Rockets.
The Rockets and Sacramento are out. The Sacramento.
I would say they can't maybe get a sneak in for a plan. We say this every year about them, and then they always do some bullshit though.
Right. I actually might put Sacramento over Portland. Now that I think about it. They got they're gonna have
missing the plane altogether. Woo! Don't let that happen.
It won't be necessarily his fault, but yeah.
It wasn't Steph's fault either when we missed, but I had to hear about it. So, like I said.
That's true. Yeah, Sacramento got a nice starting 5. They got Fox. They're gonna probably start they're probably gonna start Herter or Malik Monk, one of those two. I haven't really watched their preseason games, but they got Harrison, Keegan Murray, Sabonis. They're gonna be really good on offense.
So we're saying Trailblazers or Sac are probably that 10th spot.
Yeah, I mean Lakers could be 10th spot too, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. So we think there's probably 11 teams vying for those 10 spots.
Right.
And then it's 15 teams in the West. That's right. So Utah, OKC, San Antonio, and Rockets are out of there. Okay. I think this is like very like reasonable and plausible, right? I mean, I guess potentially some team could be like better than we expected, like the Cleveland Cavaliers were last year and surprises. But I do think that these are the right 11 teams.
I agree. The other four are definitely trying to get Vic Wembanyama.
Right. Some of them who are here should probably be trying to get him too, but
Right.
okay. So, but I mean, I think like just us going through that exercise sort of gives people a sense of like where we think teams fall. So, in terms of the actual teams that can contend potentially for a championship, barring injury, do we just think it's Warriors, Clippers, Denver?
Yes, right now. Like you said, maybe some team shows that they're there. But right now I would just say it's those three teams in the West.
Okay. Do we expect the Suns to not be as good this year? They're gonna trade Jay Crowder. Is that happening? Hasn't happened yet, right?
Hasn't happened yet. We don't know if it's actually going to happen because like is there really a market for Jay Crowder? Like, is he that type of player that can just demand a trade and get traded? But yeah, I think they're going to be worse. I think CP3 is going to get older, which means he's probably going to
been looking a little fugazi already, right?
I think they might be expecting Cam and Bridges to make a leap that they're just probably not going to make. I just can't. They're just not those type of players to me. And Aiden is that type of player to me, but he just doesn't want to play there, clearly. So I can see it getting a little funky.
They can trade him come January. Is that right? If they wanted to? Isn't it something like that? Like they have to wait, but like a certain time period?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if it's they have to wait till January or if they have to wait until next season, but he's probably not going to be there for much longer. So this is a typical cycle of a CP3 led team, even though he's the best leader in sports. They just after the first 2 years start to hate each other a little bit. It's just
fraudulence at its best. What about the Grizzlies? They're dealing with some injuries. Do they have the potential to take another step as a team?
They do, because their core is so young. Jaren kind of showed flashes in the playoffs of what he can be as a 3-point shooter combined with elite rim protection. I think he has to work on not fouling so much, but if he can make that leap as somebody that they can depend on to give them out perimeter shooting and just additional scoring to the job, then for sure. Desmond Bane made, he's only in his second or third year last year, and he was really, really good. I'm not sure if he has all-star potential, but he's probably one of the best up-and-coming two guards in the league, and people don't really talk about him like that. Ja can be an MVP candidate, so yeah, I think a leap is potentially there. They lost some depth also.
Jesus, here we go. Yeah, ready with the Ja hype already.
I mean, you know how I feel about Ja Morant. People say he's like a top 10 player. I don't think he's quite a top 10 player, but like I think his numbers are going to be there as far as MVP candidacy, the narrative. He's just a very flashy player. So yeah, I mean they're all young. Like I said, they can take a leap out of nowhere, and
What is needed for them to become a true contender? Is it Ja turning into a like true like tier 1 sort of player, or is it him, or is it things with the rest of the team?
Both. I think Ja, for one, has to become a tier 1 guy where we can consistently rely on him to last through a playoff run, last through a season, for one. For two, not be a cone on defense. You know what I mean? Like whether or not, because teams are starting to figure out like, oh, let's just hide our best player on defense. And then those players are required to box out, not miss rotations on the back end. We saw with Luka Doncic, like, yeah, you can kind of hide him and not put him on the ball, but if you put him away from the play and he has to now protect the rim, it's no resistance there. Ja Morant, same thing. And also Andrew Wiggins was getting crazy offensive rebounds on the Grizzlies because Ja was left to box him out. So it's this stuff when you try to like think of it like, oh, the Warriors hire Steph. They really don't, because Steph is still doing all those other things to make sure the defense is not compromised. So if Ja can kind of get to that level, which I'm not sure if he can because he's really small, he's much smaller than Steph, then that will be the first block. And then the second block is probably getting rid of Dillon Brooks and getting more consistent wing play, smarter, more high IQ players on the wing. And then everybody else just kind of has to raise their game as well. But yeah, I just don't know if that's possible for them.
Is Ja's play style sustainable? Because like he's always falling on the floor. And I just feel like that probably doesn't like bode well for like a really long extended NBA career. Like, doesn't he have to like kind of switch up his game a little bit?
I think a little bit for sure. Probably become a little bit more reliable as a jump shooter, even though he has improved pretty much every year as a jump shooter.
Especially when he plays the Warriors. Just pretend he's playing them.
That was insane. But you look at a guy like Russ, he had a pretty long prime. You know what I mean? Like he's had injuries along the way and he's had to miss time and stuff like that. But I think his play style, he's like the one guy you can say, okay, this play style was sustainable for him. But
he's much more frail than Russell Westbrook.
Right. Russ is really more like a sturdy 6'3", 6'4" built type of player. So I'm not sure if that's a direct comp that I would lean on. But you look at other guys like Derrick Rose and all these other athletic point guards that had like high impact, like as far as like getting their bodies like fall on the ground and just a lot of contact. It typically doesn't last that long. So hopefully he can, add some things to his game so he can extend his prime a little bit longer.
The Pelicans are interesting to me. They're interesting to me. Like, I don't know what to expect from them. They're a team I'm interested to watch.
Yeah, definitely exciting team. And Zion is super exciting. B.I. is one of my favorite players. They just got a lot of talent, but it's like, does it fit? Is the first question. How are they going to be on defense is the second question.
Yeah. But don't they have that guy? What's his name?
Herb.
Yes. You knew who I was talking about.
It's like every hoop junkie's like new favorite, like wing defender type guy. it used to be Matisse Thybulle, and then now it's like Herb Jones. But
yes, Herb Jones.
Yeah, they got Herb. They got Jose Alvarado.
I was just about to say the little Puerto Rican guy. What's his name?
Jose Alvarado.
There you go.
Yeah, they're both good defenders. They still got Larry Nance, decent defender. But their main guys are still question marks on defense. Valanciunas, can he hold up?
Valanciunas.
Yeah, he's just a bull. And he can shoot a little bit. Zion, his defense has been questionable since day one. Like if he puts enough effort in on that end. B.I. is passable, but I wouldn't necessarily call him a stopper. And CJ is passable, but I wouldn't necessarily call him a stopper. So it's kind of like these guys are eating up a huge chunk of the rotation, and they're obviously extremely valuable offensively. But what is the defense going to look like? We don't know. So we got to really see how Willie Green gets them to buy in on that end over the course of the season.
Yeah, CJ in their postseason run last year versus the Suns, he wasn't shooting that well. I don't know. He just wasn't like himself. And I don't know if that was like because of like coming off injury or whatever, but do you expect him to be like better this year now, being like more integrated into, I guess, whatever their system is?
Right. I think that's what it was. Really, he was just kind of figuring it out on the fly. I believe he was on some pod. It might have been JJ Redick's pod or something like that. And he was just pretty much saying like during the playoffs, like Willie Green would call out a play and he would look back and I'm like, bro, I don't know that play. Like, so I think he was just trying to figure it out. So now that he like understands the system and stuff like that, he'll be able to pick his spots better. He'll be able to, take shots after practice where in the spots that he knows he's going to get in the game and make sure that he's able to knock those down. So I like CJ. I'm not sure if he's a point guard, but I like CJ.
He's going to be playing point for them?
I'm pretty sure. They're probably going to start Herb maybe at the 2. Again, I haven't watched a lot of preseason for these teams, so I don't know what their projected lineups is, but I'm thinking off the top of my head is something like CJ, Herb, Bi, Zion, Valanciunas.
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I doubt they're starting Jose Alvarado. I don't think they have any other like point guards I could think off the top of my head that would start.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna put them down as one of my teams to watch.
For sure.
CJ annoys the shit out of me, but I do like his game.
Yeah, he's definitely a cornball, but that's more so off the court than on the
he
court.
got a lot to say about our squad. Mind your business.
Right. We're not gonna bring up what Redacted said to him during the finals that ended up being true.
Oh my goodness. Timberwolves are another interesting team with this Rudy Gobert decision. Why did they announce today that he was, or was it yesterday that he's going to be the starting center? Like, was that in question? Who else would it be?
They announced that? Yeah, that's
or someone said like Rudy Gobert is going to be this, and I'm just like, I was so confused.
I mean, you got sent 8 picks and 1,000 players to get him. I'd hope he'd be starting.
I don't know. I just don't know what to expect of them. You know, people like to pick on Cat. I won't. I don't know if I ever really did, but I just won't. I just feel like the man's going through too much in his life that I'm just gonna leave him alone. But they're just an annoying team because like I wanted them to beat the Grizzlies last year and they didn't. And they're just so collectively just do dumb things. And so I think for them, I really just want to see them like be a smarter basketball team. And like some of that's the coach, because I mean, we watch the coach do things like not call timeouts when he should. And, you know, so they're interesting. I mean, I don't think they're going anywhere either. But I mean, in terms of just like construction with who they have, do they have any potential to actually be a contending team?
I don't think so. Not a legit contender. I think they have too many holes in the roster, the biggest hole being D'Angelo Russell. I think he's just pretty flawed as a player. Like I like his game, but I think he shoots when he probably should defer. And then defensively he leaves a lot to be desired, even though he's much improved on that end. And he was kind of like the backline anchor for them, just like yelling out where people should be and stuff like that. But as an actual on-ball defender himself, he's a cone. You know, like I just don't think he can lock down like that. But I'm not sure Anthony is at the level where he can really control an offense as the main primary ball handler, getting guys the ball where they need it. So they can't really say we're just going to sit D'Angelo and play Ant at the
right
handler. So yeah, I think that's the biggest question. I think a lot of people are asking about the Rudy and Cat question defensively. I think they'll be fine just because Rudy just pretty much protects the paint. Like when you pull him away from the paint is where they have some issues. But I think they have enough defense on the wings with Ant and McDaniels and Taurean Prince and stuff like that, that they'll be able to at least stay in front of their mans long enough for Rudy to be able to do what he does best.
That's probably preferable, right? For Cat. I mean, that Rudy's going to be in the paint, so he doesn't like to operate there.
Exactly. And his ability to set screens and roll, I'm pretty sure they're going to have Rudy setting some pin downs for Cat and then roll to the rim. That's going to be pretty hard to stop because Rudy's one of the best like roll finishers in the league, and Cat is obviously one of the best shooters at his position or shooters period in the league. So I think they'll be fine, especially in the regular season, but certain matchups may give them some issues in the playoffs.
I'm so sorry. I'm yawning. I don't know why. I got a good night's rest. All right. So let's talk about the big three. And by big three, I'm saying the teams in the West who we think can legitimately contend. Okay. So in order of 1 to 3, like I know we both think it's Warriors would be the best team, whether they actually finish with the best record or not, just they would be the best team in the West. And so who's 2 and who's 3?
I think 2 is that's a tough one. I think 2 is the Clippers. I'm just gonna say the Clippers. Very narrow over 3, Denver. I'm only saying it's very narrow because I think, and I've said this before, I think if those two teams specifically matched up, I think Denver is a matchup issue for Los Angeles. But the Clippers, that being said, the Clippers would have Kawhi and Paul George, and I think those two is just tough for a lot of teams, most teams to handle. And then they just have a lot of shooting and guys that can do multiple things with the basketball around them. So that's a series I want to see happen for sure.
I just feel like when Denver caught the Clippers, it was one, the first year of the Clippers experiment, and two, it was the bubble. So like I don't expect Jamal Murray to be Jamal Curry again.
For sure.
I you know, Paul George seems to be in a better mental space. He played much better in the next postseason. I think Kawhi is going to be Kawhi. I guess my point is that I feel a lot of people look at what happened in the bubble, and I don't think you do that because I know like you really like look at things, but I just think a lot of people look at what happened in the bubble and they're just like, oh, you know, and I'm just like, I don't think it would go down like that again, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's definitely like not necessarily out of my mind, but I'm not necessarily considering that. I think for one, Jokic is like much better than he was when they played in that series.
For sure.
Potentially Kawhi is maybe a little bit worse. We'll have to see. But I think the team around Joker and Jamal is a lot better than it was in the bubble as well. This is probably the best iteration of the Joker-led Nuggets. So we'll see. We'll see. But those are definitely, I would say Warriors for sure. I would firmly, like, if you can guarantee that this incident doesn't affect the on-ball product, the on-court product, then they're tier one. And then a step below them is Clippers and Denver, kind of like no matter what day it is, whoever the best team is, you know.
What are you expecting from Michael Porter Jr.?
He'll be able to shoot. He'll always be able to shoot. I don't think he'll be able to move well, especially on the defensive end. Hell of an offensive player, especially playing in that team where he has multiple ball handlers around him, multiple passers. Yeah, that's really is good scorer. Leaves a lot to be desired on the defensive end. Yeah, hopefully he can stay healthy for a full season because you really don't want to see anybody consistently get hurt. But yeah, just good scorer, good shooter. Not really much more. That's about it. Tall Clay, pretty much. Tall Clay without the defense.
For anybody seeing me looking down, if you're watching on video, I'm just looking at news. I want to make sure me and Justin are not missing anything. So right. I think we've talked about the West enough. Let's move over to the East. Let's just do that little exercise we did again really quick, shall we? So who's the best team in the East? Because I think this is a very fascinating question because a lot of people are just saying the Bucks. I don't know if it's the Bucks. I think it could be the Bucks, but I don't know if it's like definitively the Bucks, the way everyone is just kind of declaring them the best. And that's kind of my thought for like maybe like 4 teams in the East, to be honest. Like, is it the Bucks? Is it Boston? Could it be the Sixers? I feel like the Nets are a wild card until we see them. So, you know, and who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone. Who am I forgetting?
As far as the top of the East?
Yeah.
Miami was there last year, but we'll see about that this year.
The Heat. Okay.
I know you're not a Jimmy guy, but Jimmy girl.
Okay. I am for sure not a Jimmy girl, but I mean, the Heat just have the ability to have like a good team throughout the year, so I wouldn't put it. But are those the top 5 teams in the East, like in no particular order? But are those the best 5?
Potentially.
And is there any of those 5? Is there anyone who's like a tier above the other, or are they all like comparable?
I would say Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, and Brooklyn right now are all on the same tier. I think they all have their advantages and disadvantages in comparison to one another. if I had to bet on one, it's tough because they're going through the whole coach change thing. I would bet on Boston being the best team, at least in the regular season, because they have the best defense and they add a little bit more offense to their roster. Obviously, the Robert Williams injury hurts their depth for the foreseeable future. But I think just the continuity that they have and the foundation that they set last year, they should go into the season pretty good. And then you see Milwaukee is going to be missing Middleton potentially for some time. Brooklyn has to integrate Ben Simmons, and Philly could be the number one seed at the end, but I'm not sure if they're the best team in the East. So yeah, I would say it's those four at the top, and then I would probably put Miami and potentially Cleveland in the tier below them, maybe Toronto as well.
Yeah, I have Heat, Toronto, Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the East starts to get interesting. Oh, the Hawks. I forgot about them. Do we expect them to be better this year?
They'll be better. I don't know how much better they'll be, but
better than the Hornets? Oh, because LaMelo just went down too.
Yeah, LaMelo's down. Miles Bridges is going to jail. No, I'm just kidding.
He might be going to jail.
He might be going to jail. So he's definitely not playing in the NBA anytime soon. But so yeah, they're going to be cooked. They're in the Vic Minyama sweepstakes, as far as I can tell. So definitely Charlotte's out of there. I would say, well, Chicago is kind of in that Hawks.
Shit, forgot about yeah.
Chicago might be a little bit better than the Hawks, but we'll see. Because Lonzo Ball's knees are cooked. So,
see. Okay, let me see if I have all the teams because I wrote down a list here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm still missing one.
Did you put Indiana?
I did. I have Pacers here. Orlando. Okay.
Orlando. Can't forget about Orlando. They're going to be.
Okay. So, I mean, let me just see if we're in agreement. I have well, I don't know which of these teams are going to make the play-in, but I have the top 9 teams being so those 4 we discussed that were all in the same tier: Bucks, Boston, Sixers, Nets. Mm-hmm. And then the next 5 being not in any order, but Heat, Toronto, Cavs, Hawks, Bulls. And that's 9 teams. So I don't know who's going to take that 10th spot to be in the play-in out of Hornets, Wizards, Knicks, Pacers, Detroit, Orlando.
Mm-hmm. If I was a betting man, I would bet that it would be the Wizards.
Okay, I was thinking that.
It'll be the Wizards or Orlando, in my opinion.
All right. But, I mean, we don't really think any of those teams are going to do anything at the bottom. They're sort of in development mode still and still trying to grow for the most part, right?
You talking about the teams below the Wizards in Orlando, or are you talking about including them?
Yeah, I'm just saying none of those teams, I don't even know. Are any of them interesting to watch? I mean, Orlando, I know they have some pieces now. Detroit, with LaMelo out, they're probably not an interesting team to watch until he comes back, and then who knows what he's going to look like. So the Knicks,
The Knicks are going to be ugly basketball for sure. Nasty basketball. RJ Barrett has all the tools, but just can't make shots really at a respectable enough clip. Julius Randle needs a lot of space to operate, and he just won't get it.
Are the Pacers going to trade Miles Turner?
No, probably not. Miles Turner, being in trade talks and not getting traded is equivalent to Dame Lillard. Yeah, it's like the Dame Lillard, I'm loyal to Portland thing. You hear about it every single year, and you're all right, I'm sick of hearing about this. So they're in the Vic sweepstakes. They're going to suck. Charlotte's in the Vic sweepstakes. Detroit might be a little bit more competitive than we think, but they're a lottery team again. Orlando is probably a lottery team again, but they're going to be a lot better. The Wizards are in a weird space because they have a lot of vets, but they're just not like good. Like,
Right.
they got
That's why
Porzingis.
you're saying like they might be in the 10th spot.
Yeah.
Maybe. Listen, I mean, I like if you're in the 10th spot anyway, you're not making anything. So I'm just gonna focus on like the top 9. One of these bottom teams will be 10th. But I think that first 9, I think legitimately they all could be 1 through 8. So it's gonna be really interesting to see who ends up 9. And I guess it doesn't matter because 7 through 10 anyway is the play-in. But yeah, I mean, I think that the top 9 teams in the East are probably the ones that we said. So Bucks, Boston, Sixers, Nets, Heat, Toronto, Cavs, Hawks, Bulls, right? So the Bulls were having like a great season last year, then they had some injuries, and then like people were never taking them seriously anyway. But I feel sort of bad that like they got injured. So we kind of just don't really know what they could have done. I don't think that they were going to be making it out the East, but do you think DeMar DeRozan can have like another repeat season like he did? I mean, what are you expecting from the Bulls?
I think he can. He's just like a regular season killer. You know, I'm not too high on on Debo, but I think Levine is one of the better 2 guards in the league. I expected him to take like a bigger leap last year and kind of step into that conversation for best 2 guard in the league, but I just don't think he's that guy anymore. Lonzo's knees are cooked. He's not playing basketball anytime soon. So we'll see. Like if they can get some consistent point guard play, maybe from if Ayo can kind of step up and just take a leap as a player, then they can have some regular season success. But I can definitely see DeRozan and Levine combining for about 48, 50 points a game again. And we'll see what their defense looks like. But they got a lot of offensive talent and just like they're really lacking on the defensive end. So we'll see.
Okay. So the Hawks had a disappointing season last year.
Yeah.
They probably had in the East, probably one of the more interesting pickups. So DeJounte joined the team. Do we expect them at least this year to make the playoffs this upcoming year?
Yeah. I would give them a slight edge over Chicago. Like just at this very moment, I'd probably say they are 8 and Chicago's 9.
Oh, so you still have them like at the bottom, not even like a 5 or 6, like being nope. Okay.
No. I just think the other teams are just clearly better. Trey is one of the best players in the league, so at least offensively he is. So maybe he can just carry them, because it's going to be on both sides, on the West and the East. It's going to be a separation of a few games, if not 1 or 2 games. So over the course of an 82-game season, a hot streak, a few game winners here or there could be the difference between being the 5th seed and the 8th seed. So we'll see if Trey can kind of carry them. Because Debo last year got them a few game winners, the probably games they should have lost, and it bumped them up in the standings.
Right. Well, and what about because wasn't DeJounte Murray? Did he win, or wasn't he one of the people in contention for most improved last year? Or am I making that up?
He didn't win. Ja won. But I'm not sure if he was in contention.
I feel like, or was that 6 man? I always get those 2 confused. But I mean, like people wanted him to be an all-star. Did he become an all-star? I can't even remember. This like becomes blurred to me. He had like a really good season though last year. And so I mean, I guess what my question really is like I kind of expect him to take another, leap again. I don't know what size the leap will be, but I expect him to be better this year than he was last year.
DeJounte?
Yeah.
Potentially. He was an all-star. I think he was an injury replacement all-star, but I think it's gonna be a little bit tougher though because Trey is a player that has the ball in his hands a lot, and I think DeJounte flourished a lot with the Spurs last year because he was the only like good player that they had, and he was allowed to do whatever he wanted.
Okay.
We'll see if he can scale to a lesser role or if he can scale off the ball because he's not a great shooter. So maybe they let him handle the ball a little bit more and let Trey play off the ball. And Trey's been hinting that, like, yeah, I haven't played off the ball yet in my NBA career, but I used to do it like when I was younger, when I had other ball handlers around me. So
why is he telling us that? Is he being criticized for
I
it?
don't. I think I think he has been criticized for it. I don't know if he said it directly, but I'm pretty sure like someone close to him tweeted something about it, like just wait and see. He's going to be able to do it like that. I think it might have been his father or something. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, we'll see. We'll see from Trey because once you get in the NBA, you start playing a certain style of basketball. It's really hard to shake it. Very few people can do that. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, the Cavs, they're a team that's interesting to me. So, like I said, my little team, they're a team I like. I just like them. Nice
Right.
young group. I like them.
It's like the old remnants of the Cavs that the Warriors is completely out of there, and we just like love the new baby Cavs. Like
I do. I really do. And so I would like to see them get their chance to do the playoffs properly this time. I mean, I don't think that they're going to like come out the East, but the injury bug really hit them at the end of the season.
yeah, yeah, it did. I think Jared Allen was missing a lot of time, and Mobley was out and stuff too. So yeah,
Where do you see them in terms of like middle of the pack? Can they be a top 6 team?
I think they can. At least in the regular season, we're gonna have to see what their wings do because I think that's ultimately their obviously huge weakness that they have right now. They have one of the best backcourts as far as talent and one of the best front courts as far as talent in the league is when you talk about power forward and center. And then they probably have like the worst small forward group in the playoff contenders in the entire league. So we'll see how they can navigate that. And they already have a small backcourt. So they could potentially be really good on defense depending on how healthy Jared Allen is. And maybe if Mobley makes another leap, and they can be bad too. So
I feel like it's between them or Toronto for that 6th spot. I feel like the top 5 are going to be like Bucks, Boston, Sixers, Nets, and Heat. I feel like those will be the top 5 teams. So I feel like 6th is either going to be like Toronto or the Cavs.
I agree on that. And Toronto has their question marks as well. But yeah, it's just definitely which one of those teams can navigate their weaknesses a little bit better than the other one. I think that they'll get 6.
Okay. So we're not expecting the Heat to be back in the Eastern Conference Finals next season.
I hope not. I mean, I like the Heat. No disrespect to the Heat and people, but I'm just kind of tired of seeing them there, and as opposed to the top guys. I'm still waiting on Embiid to get there and do something because people keep putting him on this pedestal, and he's a great player and he's an MVP candidate. But it's time for him to put it all together and put a real dominant run deep in the playoffs together.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm hoping the final 4 teams are Boston, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia, so we can at least get a super duper star in the Eastern Conference Finals, pretty much guaranteed. And yeah, we'll see.
So for last year's Rookie of the Year, Scotty Barnes, like, I mean, he's still young, right? But like, it's interesting because he's like one of their key pieces going forward. And then Pascal is still there, but there's such a big age difference in them, and then Fred is still there. But like, do they have enough, like once Scotty gets to like, a place where I guess he can really, really have meaningful impact? Is that enough for them to become like a more legitimate team, or are they still missing something?
I think they are still missing a guy that can really set the table for the other players. I like Fred, and he's obviously been like a small guard for all of his life, but I don't think he's like that type of player. He's more of a wing, in my opinion, with some playmaking ability than actual playmaker. So they're just a team full of wings. They got a lot of length. They got a lot of guys. They don't have any like true centers or bigs. They just have like big wings. So that's just it's weird. It's kind of like how when the Clippers first got together and everybody was like, they don't have a point guard. They just have a bunch of wing players. It's really like that with Toronto, but they don't have Kawhi and Paul George. They just have like lesser versions of those type of players. So that's definitely the missing piece for me on that team. Just like a real point. Like if they had prime Kyle Lowry right now, then it's like, all right, perfect. But they don't. They're in a weird spot where they're obviously have a lot of good players, but they're missing some pieces.
When you watch Scotty Barnes, do you think he's gonna turn into like at a minimum an all-star? Can he be a superstar? What have you seen from him? What are your thoughts on him in terms of his trajectory?
I think he can be an all-star. I think he has legitimate two-way impact with his ability to push the ball in transition. Like he does a lot of the things that that remind you of like a Draymond type of player. Guard multiple positions, super long arms, quick feet, good defensive instincts. So, at least on that end, he can be one of the best players, one of the best defenders in the league. And then offensively, pretty athletic. Like he takes a lot of long strides. He can get to the lane, dunk on you. Whether or not he becomes like a superstar kind of depends on his ball handling, if he can really improve that, and if he can really improve his ability to shoot, particularly off the dribble, because that's when he really becomes devastating as a playmaker and stuff like that too. So because he can pass the ball, but the best playmakers in the league typically have some type of dynamic scoring punch to their arsenal that causes the defense to react to them a certain way, and that's where it opens up for the passing lanes. But if people don't really respect him as a legitimate scorer, then it's going to be harder for him to play make at that level. If he can work on that ball handling bag a little bit more and that shooting bag, then he can definitely be an all-star superstar type of player.
Okay. Before we move into the upper echelon, I just have a question about the Heat. And Heat fans, forgive me if you feel like I'm disrespecting your team and not putting them in the upper echelon. But Tyler Hero, there was a question. I mean, I'm sure people pose this a lot, but my dear friend Hoop Spaces, Chris, had put up a poll. Who's better? I think Tyler Hero or Jordan Poole. So I kind of replied smugly, like, "Come on, let's be serious." But
let's be serious.
What kind of year are you expecting from? Well, one, I should say, since we're both kind of like, let's be serious. I guess I should say you expect Jordan Poole to have like a better year, season than Tyler Hero, and also what kind of like. What are you expecting to see from Tyler Hero for this season? He just got his bag. So what are you expecting to see from him this year?
I don't know if Jordan will have like a better statistical year as far as like just putting up numbers, just because Tyler Hero has a bigger role, I think, or just more opportunity, especially in the regular season, to score and do all of those things. But I do think Jordan is just like, it'll be noticeable that Jordan is just a better player. I think his playmaking ability is better. I think he's more dynamic of a scorer, just the pressure that he puts on the rim. He can finish with the best of them in the league. He's probably one of the better finishers at his position in the league as far as percentage. And then you can like visibly see he can finish right hand, left hand, floaters, mid range, threes, on and off the ball. And Tyler can play on and off the ball too. But I just think he's more dynamic of a player. And it showed in the playoffs as well. Tyler had a decent playoff run in the bubble, but since then he hasn't really put together a great playoff run. I think Jordan, even though he had his moments where he was a little bit down, he had moments where he was extremely high. And then over the course of the playoffs, you saw his averages were something that not a lot of people were able to accomplish at his age or even period. So Jordan, better player. Tyler Hero, better stats this season. Maybe.
Okay. So I agree with you on the Sixers. I'm going to start with them and Joel Embiid, because I'm like, y'all keep telling me this man is here and he ain't making out the second round. And a lot of people get the blame for those. And I do know that sometimes he was hurt, but in particular, the year when the infamous,
That's a part of it too, though. Staying healthy, like
it is. But in particular in the year where like Ben Simmons got all the blame because of that like layup or not like the shot he decided not to take right at the rim, right? Like it was egregious. But that allowed Joel Embiid to escape criticism because he did not close a number of games in that series, right? And there are some people I know who will bring up, oh, he was injured. And I was like, look, some might say like that's hypocritical for me because like I'm a Warriors fan and we bring up Steph's injuries in 2016. But my issue is that with Joel Embiid, he'd be playing good the whole game. And then it was just like the fourth quarter, he didn't close, right? So it's like, you can't, like we saw Steph's inconsistency from the moment he came back, that he wasn't like the same player. You could see his limitations. He couldn't do the same things. But Joel will be dominating for 3 quarters. And then at the end, like shots he regularly makes, he's not making, he's missing free throws. He's just not closing. Like to me, that's not an injury thing, right? And so he just failed to close, you know? I mean, I know like losing a heartbreaker to Kawhi on that shot, like that could have gone in either direction, but I feel like he's gotten some passes. I really do. Like, yeah. I still think that the year before when the Hawks made it, I think the Sixers should have still won that series.
Yeah, they should have. I don't even think it should even went. They went to 7, right? I don't even think it should have went to 7. I think everybody was shocked too, and it was an incredible run by the Hawks. I think they even got 2 games off the Bucks too, maybe 1 game. But that's just, it's unexcusable, especially when you're somebody who people are saying like it's top 5, like better than XYZ player who's actually been there. Like he's legitimately the only player who was consensus top 10 that has not even been to a conference finals at this point. And like you said, there's valid reasonings as to why that is. But part of those reasonings is can't stay healthy, and some of those big moments he's come up a little bit short. So it's just, you got to put it all together for me at least one time for me to be like, all right, you're that guy. You know, like we just got to see it.
Agreed.
Yeah. And Joker got to the conference finals in the bubble, and he was 1 game away from the conference finals before the bubble, I think the year before. But it's time for him to, especially back-to-back MVP. You gotta get there.
I don't want to hear if he is truly in contemplation for a 3rd MVP this year. If I see that kind of talk,
yeah, it would be crazy. I mean, like if he's playing,
and he don't, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't. I don't give a damn what kind of numbers he's putting up. 3 MVPs and you ain't even get a ring yet? Nah, bro. That's wild.
Yeah. We just got 30. Just got to do what he needs to do and get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I'm just like, listen. Okay. Anyway, but I think we're kind of like aligned on the Sixers. Do you think they have a legit shot to come out the East?
They do. They have the roster to do it. They have an extremely balanced roster, versatile. They're deep on paper.
Harden will have a bounce back year this year?
It depends on what you define bounce back. I think he'll settle into his role as long as he's just like setting people up and stuff like that and picking his spots as a scorer a little bit better and not trying to be the James Harden of old, because he clearly just doesn't have the burst anymore, so he can't create the separation that he needs to get them shots off and score like the way he used to. But he can still set people up. He's still one of the best passers in the league. If he's doing that, they have enough scoring around him, especially with Joel and Maxey and Tobias Harris, and they got shooters and stuff now. So I think on paper, they might be the best team in the East on paper, but their 2 best players struggle with closing and doing what they need to do in the playoffs, and their coach has struggled consistently with doing that. So that's the biggest question mark. I think if they didn't have those labels over their head, then most people will be picking the Sixers to come out of the East.
Where do you rank James Harden? Is he still a top 20 player?
No. He's like top 30-ish. He's like top 30-ish probably. 30. Okay. Yeah, he's above CP3. So wherever you have CP3, he's probably still better than CP3. But
I'm just curious, like I really haven't gone through my rankings, but I was just curious, like where he's like moved to for you.
Yeah, I think he's somewhere in the top 30. If he's healthy and he's playing like decent team defense and he's averaging somewhere around like 20 points and 9, 10 assists on league average efficiency, something like that, then he's maybe a little bit higher than top 30. But right now, he's just in that 30 range for me.
And we didn't talk about rankings that many on the West, but I just have a couple of players I want to ask about really quickly. Where is AD? Like, where do you rank him as a player?
Right outside the top 10, probably top 15. Top 15.
Okay.
Like 15th. Like in my mind, I'm thinking right now. Yeah. Because I mean, you got to take health into account. Availability. He just hasn't had it in the last 2 seasons. He also had his worst shooting season in a while last year, so we got to really see if the jumper's back, even though it's looking pretty good right now. But yeah, I would put him top 15. I never really bought into the hype after the bubble where people were saying like, "Oh, the Lakers had like the second best and the best player in the league at the same time." Like that never.
I never had him there, but I had him top 10. Like I really, for the whole time, I still sort of had him as like a top 7-ish, 8 player. I don't anymore. I think I get to like 7 or 8, and then like I just like those final 2 spots, and like like all of those players, like on any given night, one of them could be like 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not one of those people who definitively have Jason Tatum in the top 10, or even like Jimmy Butler, like who some people are like, no. Like for me, it's like there's like 7 or 8.
Same level.
Yeah. Okay. What about Dame Lillard? Where would you rank him? Like if he comes back and he's healthy.
If he comes back and he's healthy, he's in that same range with AD. In that 10 to 15 range, 9 to 15.
Paul George.
Yeah, probably. Paul George, same range.
Okay.
PG, Dame, AD. I would put Ja Morant, Jimmy Butler, probably like all grouped into that range.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so back to the East. So the Nets, to me, I just say are like a wild card because we don't know what they're gonna look like. I haven't had a chance to watch their preseason games, if I'm being honest. So what have you seen? What have they looked like? You had a very interesting tweet and you were like, this one presents matchup nightmares for this one, but this one, it was, I don't remember how you like who was who. So I think it was that Brooklyn is a matchup problem for, was it the Bucks?
Mm-hmm.
But the Celtics are a matchup problem for the Nets.
Mm-hmm.
And who, I don't remember where the Bucks fit in.
And the Bucks are a matchup problem for Boston.
Okay. So yeah, so I thought that was like a really, it's like, oh, Justin's so clever. I like that tweet. So they're interesting, those 3 teams, depending on how the matchups go. Are any of them a favorable matchup for the Sixers?
Potentially the Sixers can have an advantage on all of those teams. And that's why it's so weird trying to rank the Sixers, because I think they have the versatility. They have more versatility than all 3 of those teams, in my opinion. If they play against Boston, they can try to play a little bit more physical, play inside with Joel and see how that can open up some offense. If they play against Brooklyn, they can definitely punish inside with Joel. And then Milwaukee's a little bit bigger team, so they're going to have to lean onto their shooting, but they got more shooting now. So they can present some matchup issues for all 3. And I think all of them have strengths and weaknesses against each other, but Philly in particular just seems like a team that can match up the best with the other 3 teams as opposed to,
And for Joel, do you think it's a conditioning thing with him? I mean, I know he's just like a big man and they tend to have more issues, but like people often like get on him about his conditioning. Do you still think that's what it is?
Nah, I don't think so. Maybe, I mean, just the injuries you only can have a certain amount of injuries before they start like actually affecting your body. You know what I mean? Like there's a saying like you don't necessarily come back the same after an injury. Like it's just different. Like your body just operates different now, like after you get an injury. It might not necessarily worse or better, but it's just a slightly different thing. Like you can't just go back to normal afterwards. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't think his conditioning is an issue though. At least it shouldn't be at somebody of his caliber.
How do you like the addition of Brogdon to the Celtics? I mean, they had 2 offseason acquisitions, but Gallinari, is that how I say it?
Yeah,
he's hurt, right? So
he's done for the season.
Yeah, he tore his ACL, right? So he's done. But I think for the Celtics, they're sort of like the Warriors, where it's like something that's not really about like the players that might be their potential issue. It's like their whole coach situation looming over them. So, but they did add Brogdon. So how do you like that as an addition to the team? And let's say the coach situation has no impact on them. Where do you see them? Because like with the Bucks missing Middleton for a little bit, I would probably say like, you know, Boston could really be the number 1 team in the East.
Yeah, I think he just provides more of what they're already good at. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are looking on the outside and saying, okay, Brogdon, he's played point guard, whatever case may be, but he's not necessarily like a point guard. Like
that's what I keep saying.
Yeah, he's the same class as like Fred VanVleet, but he's probably a little bit better offensively, or you know, it's a different type of player that he attacks, but he's.
You think it's an improvement over White?
He's just an addition to White, because as you saw in the finals, they were playing like 3 guys off their bench. They were playing Pritchard, who was pretty much ineffective for majority of the time he played in the finals. Grant Williams, same thing. He was ineffective for a lot. And Derek White was really the only reliable guard wing that they had off the bench. And he was kind of playing out of his mind the way he was shooting for a majority of the series. And then he kind of faded away. So they just needed more players. Like their starting 5 was really, really good. And then they just had a Grand Canyon gap with that in the production they got off their bench. So just having another starting caliber player in their rotation, it just helps, you know, fortify their team over the course of a full 48-minute game.
They are dealing with issues with Rob Williams, though, and his health. I forgot about that. So I don't know. These teams are interesting in the East. It's really hard to say who's going to be. I feel like it's just any one of them could be, you know, 1 through 4 of Bucks, Boston, Sixers, Nets. After we just went through that exercise, I don't like
It's definitely a toss-up. And it's funny because if you look on both sides, I feel like it's kind of a toss-up as well. Outside of the Warriors, like I said, basketball-wise, the Warriors should be clear of the field this year. But they now have other things that they have to consider and deal with. But on paper, just as far as both sides of the ball, coaching, continuity, chemistry, having the best player, all those things, they should be clear of the field. But we'll obviously have to play it out and see, barring injury. Yeah, the East is a toss-up at the top. The West is just toss-up in the middle. And we'll just see how it plays out, I guess.
If the Warriors do make it out the West, assuming they do, what's the matchup you'd like to see most?
From a basketball fan perspective, Milwaukee. I think they're the last team, other than the Warriors, obviously, who won a championship. And Giannis is, you know, considered the top 2 guy next to Steph. Most people will have him over Steph at this point. So it would be nice to see those 2 match up in the finals. The last 2 reigning finals MVPs. From a Warriors fan perspective, I would want to see them destroy Brooklyn in the finals, obviously. That would just be like ultimate like gratification, you know, as a Warriors fan, just see them do that to Brooklyn. But
yeah, it's one of those 2 teams for me too. Like we already beat Boston. They don't move me. I don't really care about the Sixers that much. I mean, whatever, if we play them, we play them. But I actually don't really have a desire to watch Bucks versus Warriors. I just have a desire for Steph to beat Giannis. But like, I have a desire to see Warriors versus Nets. I think the basketball will be more fun for me to watch. I'm one of those people who truly does not enjoy watching Giannis play basketball. Like I want to like cut myself, it's just the fuck, yo. Like I mean, it's almost as painful as watching James Harden or when he was like at his similar thing to me. It really is. I just don't enjoy it. So like, and no, I don't have an issue with him being from another country before people say the bullshit. Like we
get it. It's just
I like finesse players. That's what I enjoy. That's what I want to watch. And I'm not bag Twitter by any means, but I don't enjoy that. There are like if it's like a big man like Jokic, because I enjoy the passing and that kind of stuff. But I
mean, he's a finesse player. He's a bruiser, but he's a finesse player. He has the step backs, the one-legged fadeaways and stuff like that. So he definitely makes his big man play look a little bit more pretty than Giannis does.
Yeah, I just enjoy pretty.
It's not pretty. But
so all due respect to Giannis, wonderful human being, pretty humble guy. That's what people say. No, he is. I think it's a little bit of an act, but he is.
I mean, I'd rather you be acting a little bit than
being a dick for sure. So yeah. So no, but I do, generally speaking, I like Giannis as a person and a player. Like I just don't enjoy watching him play basketball. And so I don't think from an enjoyment standpoint that I would really be like, but from who's the best player again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From that standpoint, because I love it. I love to talk my shit. So we'll see what happens, but who knows? Something unexpected always happens. So
right.
we will see. Are you looking forward to the season?
For sure. I can't wait to get it started. I mean, the Warriors got their last preseason game tonight, so I'm gonna watch that with some excitement because they got the full roster playing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so they sure do. They sure do. I was just about to wrap, and then I just kind of thought about that Draymond Green presser, whatever it was yesterday, when he was talking about trust and what does that really mean? And then he's like, I think the word people are looking for is camaraderie. Like if you actually look up the definition of camaraderie, like trust is right in the effing definition. But anyway, I digress. I did not enjoy that at all. I don't know, but I gotta tell you, I'm not feeling it's because of my trust in Steph why I feel like, and that the rest of the like people around the team like are just really people who I can trust in to like lead, because I don't trust Dre. And like, I felt like there was some excuse making for some of his commentary yesterday. Like, like if he in this moment with the magnitude of what has happened, still feels the need to be arrogant or smug or defiant, whatever you want to describe it as, in this moment, if he, like, to me, the tone and tenor should have been the same tone that he exhibited during his apology. And it was not, and I was really turned off by that. So, it'll be interesting to see tonight. Steve Kerr said, practice was great. It was great to have Dre back, or whatever shit he said. Listen, I don't believe any of these things. So like people are like, oh, I'm going to take them at face value. And people not understand that like, these are the things the Warriors are going to say. Like, even if it was weird, they're not going to tell us. Just like all season, Kevin Durant kept saying, I haven't made a decision, when we all damn well knew the decision was made and he was going to the Nets. So like, there are times you have to listen to what the team is telling you. And then there are times where we have to like, people like, you like just think a little bit about what's happening and why certain messaging is happening. So I'm mostly, of course, I'm excited to see like the squad play Clay on the court, but I'm mostly watching tonight to see body language, to see how things look. And look, they're gonna know everyone is watching for that, right? So they'll probably be on their best behavior.
They're going to be on their best behavior for the entire rest of the season.
Is it in Denver or is it in at Chase?
I'm not sure. I can't tell you.
I only asked because someone had tweeted at Tim Kawakami about ring night, and he was like, "No, I don't think Draymond's getting booed," and like, I don't think it's gonna be an arena full of boos, but I feel like there's not. I think there's gonna be boos.
I think it's going to be one of those like reactions where it's you can't make out what it is because it's going to be a lot of cheers and a lot of boos. It's going to be a lot of like just random noises.
Right.
So
it looks like Nuggets. I think it's Nuggets at Warrior. No, I don't know where it is. Okay, well, we'll see. Anyway, Justin, this has been great as always. I think we gave good insight on what to expect from our perspective, you know, for the season. I enjoyed that. You helped me because I don't pay that close attention to all the teams around the association. I mean, I don't know that anyone really does. It's too hard to keep up with that many teams, but this was helpful for me at least in terms of like what to expect. So hopefully it was helpful for the listeners. Any last comments before we go?
Nah. Warriors gonna get this win tonight, and they're gonna win on open night, and that's it. That's all I got.
Let's go Dubs. Let's go Dubs. All right, y'all. Make sure if you're listening, you better already be subscribed. If you're not, subscribe, download, let people know. Follow Justin, the Package JG.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Natfluential. Follow us. Stay tuned. Keep up with us because we got more coming for you in store. All right. Take care, y'all. Until next time. Hey, guys, it's Nat. I'm back again. Just a quick update because since we recorded, there have been some updates with respect to the Golden State Warriors. So Jordan Poole signed his extension that's worth up to $140 million. But the big surprise, I think, because we knew that Poole's extension was coming, is that Andrew Wiggins also extended for, I think the total value was $109 million, but we locked him in for another 4 years on top of his last year that he has coming up. So they secured the future. I low-key think this is maybe not even low-key, high-key. I think they're sending a message to Dre, but I'm not going to get into all of that now. I just wanted to touch on those updates, say the season's about to start. For those who are on Twitter and follow me there, Justin and I will be doing our Golden Spaces. And so we'll talk about the extensions. We'll talk about our thoughts after game one. And we'll have another pod coming up this week and we can get into some of this. But just sort of wanted to touch on those two updates. So you don't think like we're just ignoring them, but more to come on that. But how exciting. I think this is amazing news for the Dubs. So thank you for tuning in to the preview. Hope you enjoyed and stay tuned. We have a lot coming for you this upcoming season. Until next time, guys, take care.